John Podesta was the chairman of Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign in 2016. President Obama, who issued DACA in 2012. Are you surprised by the developments in the last 24 hours?
Well, of course, I think everyone's a little bit surprised, but Chris, I think we got to get out of the politics of this a little bit and remember what's at stake here. 800,000 young people, as President Trump himself tweeted this morning, good kids, hardworking, in school, in jobs, in the military. And I think that last night he met with the two leaders. They struck a deal, and he should push forward with it. More border security in exchange for making DACA permanent. And that will be good for those young people. It will be good for the country, and I think a majority of the public would support that.
One point, border security funding, we should say. It's unclear whether that will actually produce more border security. Those two things don't always go together. But in terms of the underlying truth of this, I mean, I agree with you. I think, 800,000 actual individual human beings with lives, but that's been the case throughout. I mean, it's not like the politics are a sideshow. The reason that Barack Obama had to issue DACA as an executive order is because the votes weren't there with the Republican Congress to do it statutorily.
But I think, I agree with that. And I think that the Republicans have been reluctant to do it, but now they have a Republican president hopefully who will be pressing him to do it. He's gone a little bit back and forth on it through the course of the day, but he seemed to settle in the evening again on the idea that these young people need relief, and he's promised to give it to them. And I think that if that means angering a couple of Breitbart readers and some talk radio hosts, then he should go ahead and do it, because these people need that relief. I think, as I said, he made the deal. Now we can see if he is a person who, it surprises me to say this, but we'll see whether that when he sits across the table from the Democratic leaders and makes a promise, whether he'll make good on it.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't bet too much on that, given his history. But here's a question. You were in that White House with President Obama. You watched him work on a variety of issues and get stonewalled. You were the campaign chair for Hillary Clinton, and had she been elected president, likely, I think, would have worked in the White House, perhaps as chief of staff or something like that. You and I both know there is no way there would be a single Republican vote for a DREAM Act to be cemented into law if Hillary Clinton were president. You know that Ryan and McConnell will never bring that to the floor. How do you understand that? How do you understand the fact that in that universe, the same bill would be a non-starter, but if Donald Trump signs on, they could probably pass it?
I was with in the White House with President Obama in 2014 when he tried to get comprehensive immigration reform, and there was clearly a majority of votes in both houses. There were Republicans who favored it. There was a solid, the entire Democratic caucus would have voted for it. But at that time, Congressman Boehner, the Speaker of the House, couldn't bring it forward because he was afraid of the right wing in his party. I think the same thing was probably true of Senator McConnell. Now I think that President Trump is pressing him and saying, look, I will take the flack from the right if you push this forward. And we'll see if he's got the gumption to go forward with it. I certainly hope that he does, because, as I said, in the end of the day, the politics are sort of, sometimes the White House looks a little bit like a clown car, and you're never sure who's getting out the door. But in the end of the day, he said he would provide relief to these people. They need it, and he should make good on that.
I raised the Hillary question because Hillary Clinton, of course, will be a guest of Rachel's just later on after this show. She has a new book out. How do you understand what would be different in this country if she were president right now?
Well, I think kind of everything would be different. I think we'd have a different foreign policy, a different domestic policy. She certainly put forward an economic program that was focused on trying to focus on raising wages for working people, for the middle class, to raise the minimum wage, etc. Instead, we have a White House that really has been dominated up to this point by special interests, people who are really more interested in getting favors for his friends in the business community. There's been essentially nothing passed through Congress. And on the foreign policy side, I think we've had an erratic foreign policy in which our allies are really confused about where the president wants to go. He thinks that's like keeping everybody guessing. I think mostly it keeps people off balance in knowing how to deal with the major threats from Russia, from North Korea, etc. So I think she would have been a steady hand in foreign affairs, but I think most importantly, she would have been fighting for the working people that he claimed to argue for in the campaign, but has been really, I think, abandoned since he's gotten to the Oval Office.
All right.